Well, good evening. This is a really exciting time, and I trust that as we begin this MAP intro, that you're going to be excited and enthusiastic about the year that lies ahead. I'm really looking forward to sharing tonight's presentation with you, and I trust that as we proceed, that you're going to find it extremely valuable, and not only valuable, but that you'll be able to share it with family and friends. So welcome to everybody, and I trust that as we get to know each other this evening, that you are going to be inspired and that MAP4LIFE is going to take on a whole new meaning for you. My name is Glenn McQuirk, and I was born in South Africa. In fact, the city that I was born in is called East London, not to be confused with the east part of London in the UK, but rather the southern coast of South Africa. And if anybody is familiar with this part of the world, we are between Cape Town and Durban, approximately midway between those two cities. So I grew up on a farm right on the coast, and later studied engineering at the University of Natal in Durban, where I met Anne back in 1986. And of course, we've been married for a little while now. We have 3 children. 2 of them are married, and we also have our first grandson. And so we're really excited about what lies ahead this year. And I trust that you also have great plans, and that you indeed are preparing yourself to put together a master action plan for the year ahead. I have a short little story that I'd like to read with you. And I remember when I was in my final year of school, my teacher required me to read 10 English books and 10 books in another language. And I really wasn't a reader. I'm not sure about you, but I didn't enjoy the books that we had to read while at school. Things like Shakespeare just didn't appeal to me. And so I was adamant that I wasn't going to read these books until 2 weeks before submitting my list, while having a debate with my teacher, my English teacher, as to the value of reading. She listened intently, and after 5 minutes, she looked at me straight in the eye and said, "Listen, buddy, if you don't submit that list of 10 English books and 10 Afrikaans books, we're going to be having the same conversation next year." And that was enough incentive for me to get out there and at least read something. And I submitted my list. What I failed to tell my teacher was that there were 2-page stories out of Reader's Digest, and my Afrikaans stories were those from a kindergarten type level. So that was the extent of my reading. And tonight I'm going to read you a story that, had I found this particular one, I would have definitely included it in my list of 10 English books when I was still at school. So let me read the story to you. It goes something like this. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend that I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I'm sure you're enjoying this book. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. And I want to tell you, chapter 5 is when you're between the age of 35 and 55, and suddenly we begin to walk down another street. And that street is not the street of success, trying to impress everyone else with our achievements, but rather to begin to do something significantly, something that's going to have an impact in the lives of others, in the hearts and minds of others, that's going to live on beyond your life. It's kind of the idea of a living legacy. And I'm going to be speaking a bit about that with you during this session. But, it's important for us to think about when we start walking down the street. And I think for most people, at least in my country, on the 31st of December, the final day of the year, is the first time they begin to think about the new year. They have things called New Year resolutions. Some people today even have resolutions not to have resolutions. But one thing that I do know is many people are wondering what the new year holds for them. Even right now, maybe they're wondering, what does this year hold for me? Well, I want to tell you that the year is like a fertile field. It's ready to receive your seed. And it's looking back at you with anticipation, wondering, what seed are you going to sow in me this year? Because whatever you sow in the year of 2025 is going to produce a harvest of abundance. And I want to encourage you to begin to sow your seed. When I was at my technical school, my teacher said, by the way, a year does not start on the 1st of January. The year is simply the time it takes for the earth to revolve or to orbit around the sun once. That is 365 days and 6 hours and some seconds. That is the length of a year. So we can actually begin a new year whenever we choose. So right there where you're sitting this evening, as you're hearing my voice, I want you to count down with me. And we're going to count in our new year. And it goes like this: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we say, Happy New Year. And my message to you tonight is, Happy New Year. If you aren't ready to start a Happy New Year, or most people, when they cross the threshold from the 31st of December to the 1st of January, it's just a repeat. It's another year like the one before. Most people have been talking to me and saying 2024 was a tough year. But you know what? They said that at the beginning of 2024, they said 2023 was a tough year. And the year before that, they said 2022 was a tough year. And it's been the same story year in and year out. The question is, when is it going to change? I believe that right now, right this minute, we can change. We can have a new year. We can begin to do things differently. We can learn from our experience and begin to implement it in such a way that we begin to see radical change. And I want to encourage you to step in to this year. Plant your seed. Let's make it a new year. My story began at Bite Bridge. It's the border post between South Africa and Zimbabwe. In fact, it's a small town on the Zimbabwe side of the border, and the border post was named after that town. And it was back in 1996. I was waiting for the border post to open. I got up early that morning, looked into the sunrise. I'd been listening to Dr. Miles Monroe over and over and over again. I'd been listening to all of the cassette tapes that I had of him, 8, and I had listened to them so many times in the car on that trip. And I was hearing a message of purpose and passion and potential. And I began to believe that surely there must be a reason for my existence. And so that morning, on the 1st of April, 1996, I asked an incredibly important question. And the question was a question that I think most people ask at some stage in their life. But this question had an answer, or rather the answer I was seeking was, what is my purpose? But the question that I was asking was rather a question of location. I was, in a sense, asking my Creator, what were you thinking by putting me here? Surely there's a better place that you could have put me. You could have given me a better family, perhaps. You could have put me in a better country, maybe. Perhaps you could have even given me better looks. I don't know what that question leads to, but it's certainly not going to lead to purpose. In 2007, I did something interesting. I decided I was going to read the Bible from cover to cover. I think a lot of people have resolutions to read scripture, and maybe you've done so. But on this occasion, I chose to read the Christian Bible from cover to cover, and I was seeking answers, looking for things that would stand out, that would demonstrate why MAP4LIFE was being so powerful and so effective in people's lives. And what I discovered as I was reading through that the great patriarchs said things like that were of a purpose nature, where they stated these words in reverse order. Instead of saying, why am I here? They said, here I am. And when they said, here I am, in other words, they accepted that they were on this planet for such a time as this, and that God had sent them to do something of value. What was amazing is after that declaration, here I am, the why that we know for their existence was then played out. And I want to invite you to change your question from why am I here to a statement, here I am. Surrender yourself to a greater purpose, a greater plan for your life. And when you do, I think miracles are going to happen. This small change had a radical impact in my life, and I trust that it will have the same in yours. I remember arriving back at my home late that evening on the 1st of April, 1996, and waiting for me was a book by Zig Ziglar, the title, Over the Top. Previously, he had written a book, See You at the Top, in his younger years. But at this stage, towards the end of his life, he recognized there was something beyond success. And on that cover, it said, moving from survival to stability, from stability to success, and from success to significance. And when I saw that word significance, I knew that's what life is about. It's not about coming first in class, although that might be of value. It's not about coming first on the sports field when you're racing and competing against others. It's about completing your race, a one-person race where you guaranteed the win. Stop relinquishing the race that you were called to run by competing against others. Begin to chart your own course, follow your path. And that word significance, again, changed my life. I was inspired after listening to Miles Monroe and reading this book to write down a quote that I share with everyone whenever I'm able. And that is that you, yes, you, were born for a purpose that the world cannot do without. It's time to show up and live out your purpose. They say there's two important dates in life. The first is the day you're born, and the second one is the day you find out why. Maybe we are about to begin that journey together right now. I was encouraged some time ago. I was in a place called Plettenberg Bay, and I was watching a video called You Deserve by Les Brown. And man, that video was so powerful. You can go and watch it today. It's an old video, but you can still watch it. You can listen to it. You can learn from it. I took so many notes watching that presentation. It was powerful. But there was one quote that really stood out for me. And I know it's the reason you are joining me this evening. It's because he said this, he said, it is better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. The reason you're joining this webinar is because you are in fact prepared. You are ready. The time for you is ripe. It's ready for the picking. This is your time. This is your season. This is your adversity that's here to make you strong. There are needs that you have come to meet. Meet them. Use your gifts. Practice so that they become talents and impact the world around you. I know right now that I am prepared, and I'm getting more and more prepared every day. The question is, are you? You should be preparing every day for a better tomorrow. Don't wait for your opportunity to come. Get out there and meet it. You certainly can do so. There are 3 M's that we should choose wisely in life. The first M is our master. Sadly, it's money for most people, although they may claim something else. Money controls every waking moment of their life, even when they're sleeping. So let's be more selective and choose the true master. The second M is your mate. Who are you going to spend your life with? I think this is a really important decision. But the one that I want to speak to today is your mission. What wakes you up in the morning? What gets you up on Mondays to excitedly step into the world and go and live as opposed to just existing? What is your mission? I wrote down my mission statement in 1999. And that mission statement was simply to equip people to pursue their purpose with passion and perseverance for life. 20 years later, I simplified that statement, and it now stands simply, make life purposeful. And as I say those words, I'm energized, and I know that you are sitting there and saying, yes, come on, let's together, we can make life purposeful. We can start by making our life purposeful and then touch the lives of others and make a purposeful difference in the lives of those around us. What about the people in your village, the people in your city, the people in your country, the people on your continent? Globally, there are people that are desperate for purpose. They're seeking meaning. What I've learned is that if I pursue my passion, I will fulfill my purpose. So find the thing that makes your heart skip a beat. Find the thing that when you put your hand to it, you lose track of time. Connect with that which makes your heart pulsate with energy and enthusiasm. We live in an exciting time. Let's be excited. Let's be excited. MAP for Life, or my action plan as it was originally interpreted. Today we talk about a master action plan. So the emphasis is on planning. So you may think that when we teach you the methodology, we're going to teach you how to plan, but that's not true. I was visiting Kenya some years ago, and I was taken to the edge of the Rift Valley. It's gigantic or ginormous. I couldn't believe the size of the Rift Valley. I mean, there were mountains inside the Rift Valley that I was standing above. That's how deep that valley is. The other side was so far, I could hardly see it. And when I was there at the Rift Valley, I recognized that there were people living a nomadic lifestyle in that environment. And those people had not been to formal education. They had lived in that area. But you know something, when they had a wedding, people from far and wide would attend. They would beat the drums and people would come. And those people with their little education were able to put together a wedding that makes maybe the weddings of the modern day look small. So they know how to plan. We all intuitively know how to plan. The problem is we plan the wrong things and we don't know why we're planning them. So the question is, what are you planning? Are you planning the wedding or are you planning the marriage? I know the wedding is the important thing, right? I mean, we spent, or should I say, Anne spent 6 months planning and preparing for a wedding ceremony that lasted 6 hours at the most. Together, we spent that much time, 3 hours with the pastor, because he said, if you don't come and see me on 3 occasions for an hour, I am not going to marry you. And during that time, he taught us how to squeeze toothpaste out of a tube. Okay, maybe that's making light of the time, but it was those kinds of things that seemed to be the important things in marriage. But imagine spending 3 hours planning a marriage that's supposed to last you for 60 plus years till death do us part. No wonder so many marriages don't make it. The question is, what are you planning, the wedding or the marriage? And that's in MAP4LIFE. We want to help shift you from planning the short-term things to get other people's accolades to the long-term thing that really matters. I mean, we're coming up again, a new year. I'm sure that you have a holiday planned, or maybe you've just been on a holiday. I remember my first overseas holiday in August 1999. I mean, I had every single day of those 2 weeks planned. I knew exactly where we were going. 7:30 on Tuesday morning, we were arriving at London Heathrow Airport. 10 a.m., we were catching a British Midlands flight to Edinburgh. 9 p.m. that evening, we were watching the Edinburgh Tattoo, and so it went on. But if somebody asked me at that stage in my life, what was I going to be doing with the 70 plus years that had been promised to me, I couldn't give an answer. What are you planning for your life? In fact, should we not be planning beyond our life? Should we not be planning for the next generation, the third generation, the fourth generation? Imagine if we had the foresight to think 1,000 generations down the road. Imagine the kind of plans we could put together. Imagine the kind of seed that we would sow, knowing that the harvest was going to be over 1,000 years or 1,000 generations. How many people even think that way? They're so busy focusing on their own short life. Let's shift from planning the 2-week holiday to planning life. I think if we do that, we're going to move from just existing to really living. Why spend a whole year so that you can just have 2 weeks to go and de-stress? It should be the other way around. Somebody once said to me that we need to get excited about change because, even a baby with a dirty nappy gets excited about change. So let's get excited about change. Let's make today the beginning of something new, a new and exciting season. My father had loved to read Westerns. And he had this one book on the shelf. I always admired the cover. I never opened the book to read it. It was a yellow cover with red writing. But the reason I admired it was because my dad had copied the image on this cover and created a piece of steel work and placed it at the entrance to our farm. This image was of a Mexican leaning up against a cactus with his sombrero covering his face. And the name of our farm is Happy Rest. So it was the perfect picture, I think, of somebody taking a siesta. But I looked up recently, what does El Paso mean? And the Spanish word El Paso simply means the pass. And so I want to share a short message with you because this message that I'm going to share talks about the problem, the aspiration, the solution, and the outcome. Passo, the past. So what is the problem that people are faced with today? What is the global pandemic, the real global pandemic? The one that we can see every waking moment. It is this, simply 2 words: directionless existence. People getting up in the morning, not knowing why, not knowing where they're going, with no plan at all. These 2 words describe most people's lives. I remember being in one of these cities in the heart of South Africa, and I was talking to a group of insurance, or rather financial planners, as they call today. And between them, if we added up the experience that they had, there was over 300 years of experience. And I asked these people in that room, I said, how many people have had a written documented plan before you spoke to them about their financial future? And you know that none of those advisors had ever met somebody who already had a detailed plan for their life documented. That is a sad statistic. Just go and ask the people in your neighborhood, in your family, have you got a written documented plan for your life? I think it's important. Direction is absolutely essential. Let's change the narrative. What is the aspiration? Well, I've had the opportunity over the last 25 years to see many people describe their dreams, their goals, the things that they would like to achieve. But I can summarize all of those different things in just those 2 words: abundant life. That's what people are seeking. They would love to just be able to do what they want to do when they want to do it. They want to have the freedom to try new things. Whether it works or not is irrelevant. They just want to be able to do things. They want to see things grow and develop. They would love to restore the Garden of Eden, I'm sure. Abundant life. And I think that we are living on an island of lack that is situated in a sea of abundance. And the reason being is we're too afraid to step out in faith and do that which is on our heart. I want to encourage you to take that step, because when you step out in faith, like the seed that steps out and buries itself in dirt all alone, hidden from everyone else, in a dark place where it's never been before, only then can it tap into the abundance that surrounds it. And out of that seed's death comes life, and the life of a forest with a mandate to vegetate the planet. Aren't you worth more than just a seed? Well, if you're sitting on the shelf, nothing's going to happen. It's time to step out in faith. Forget about who gets the credit. Begin to do what your passion is. So what is the solution? How do we shift from directionless existence and achieve abundant life? I think it happens through purposeful living. It's about doing what you were born to do, fulfilling your original mandate. There's nothing more exciting than that, because when you begin to live life on purpose, somebody said the purpose of life is to give your gift away. I'm sure you know the full quote. But when you do, what happens? World transformation. The things around you change. You and I are in this world, but we're not of this world. We were born to transform it, not to conform. Most people have lost their originality. They've lost the uniqueness. They've become copies of others. Don't we teach our children to choose something that someone else has done? Become an engineer, an architect, an accountant. Why are we doing that? They are unique. Let them express themselves uniquely. The world needs some uniqueness. The time of being a copy is past. Be the authentic, original you. And when you do, the world around you will begin to change. I hope you can remember this short little story which I've included in today's introduction. El Paso, the past, the problem, directionless existence, the aspiration, abundant life, the solution, purposeful living, and the outcome, world transformation. That excites me, and I hope it excites you in the same way. I remember going to Kenya back in 2006, and while I was there, I trained a number of people and came back to South Africa and waited for something to happen in Kenya. And nothing did until 7 years later, I heard the story of Lupita Nyong'o. And what I will do is after the session, send you a link so that you can watch her Oscar acceptance speech. What is so powerful about that story was that she said, no matter who you are or where you're from, your dream is valid. And I think today is all about releasing your dream, putting it down on paper. You know, I was talking to one of the people joining us this evening, and she said her first book was Against All Odds. I hope I got that right. But isn't it in time for us to step forward despite the odds, in spite of the odds? Let's move. Let's make things happen. I know you've experienced tough times, and you know what's amazing is you've come through. Tough times never last, but tough people do. And you certainly can talk about all of the things that you've overcome. Let's keep moving forward and overcome the things necessary. MAP4LIFE is shifting the focus from the important corporate focus, which is time management. You know, they want to get the most out of the 8 hours that they employ you 5 days a week. So maybe you work for someone else for 40 hours. You have 128 hours to yourself, but most people say, I've got a job, therefore I can't do what I need to do. I think we need to begin to use the time that is ours and invest it in our dream. So instead of focusing on how I'm going to manage my time to be productive, let's rather look at where we're going so that we can travel in the right direction. When you focus simply on time, you become like a processionary worm. You follow the one in front of you and you just keep going round in circles and circles. You know, they can take a processionary worm, and if they link enough of them together and form a circle and put the food that they eat right in the center of that circle, those worms, those caterpillars will keep following each other and eventually die, although the food is right there. And I think we are living our life in a similar way. We just keep going round and round, doing what everyone else does. Get up in the morning, go to work and come home, go to bed, get up the next day to work and back. We ask our brain to do the same thing it did the day before, the week before, the year before. Change. Let's have some variety. Let's have an adventure. I think life's a journey is too boring. It needs to be life is an adventure. Let's get out there and go places. Go into all the earth is what I read. Most people, and in fact, even some theology teaches that you were born in this country, in this city, in this home for a purpose. Stay here. Don't leave us. We need your money. Sorry, I didn't say that, did I? But the big mission is to get out, to depart from the place you were born. That gave you all that you needed to begin to go and manifest that which you were created to do. Maybe it's time to step out. I think if you're 30 years or older, you certainly should be stepping out, because at this point in your life, you should have clarity of your gifts and talents. You should already have had an insight into what makes your heart beat, the passion that you have. So let's go and take a look at life management. What is it all about? There's 5 very easy steps. And in the weeks ahead, we're going to go and take a look at these 5 steps for those of you who would like to participate in ongoing training. But the first thing that a GPS does, and by the way, a GPS is a global positioning system or geographic positioning system. It's named after what it's good at. Its name is on its flame. So what are you known for? The first thing that a GPS does is it establishes its position. It looks into the night sky, finds enough satellites, and once it knows where it is, it says, great, I'm ready to serve you. The starting point is always knowing where you are. The second important step in MAP is to type in the address. Where are you going? What is the destination? Most people don't have one. This is something that you yourself have to enter. You can't expect the GPS to give you a destination. You have to make the choice. Once you've typed in the destination or placed in the coordinates, the GPS will use its programming to prepare a route for you, which is the third step. Prepare your plan. Other people can help you with the plan. There might be many ways to get to your destination, but nobody can help you if you do not know where you're going. And so it's important to put a plan together, and MAP4LIFE enables you to do just that. And then, of course, you can have the greatest plan in the world. We've just seen recently in America, I talk about MAPA, Make America Purposeful Again, is what we could be doing. And what I heard about America is great plans for the next 4 years. But what's encouraging just after these first few days is what I am seeing is massive and meaningful action. In other words, there is a clear plan and the action is being taken. I think a lot of people have plans and they are patiently waiting for something to happen. But that patience could also be interpreted as procrastination, not action. So let's begin to be people of action. After all, MAP is the master action plan, the emphasis being on action. And then finally, the last step, something that people do really well today, they take selfies wherever they go, they record the results, they create the memories, they remember the things that went wrong, and I trust that instead of changing the goal, they simply change the plan, or they learn from their mistake and they take the lesson forward. If we can do these things, we can see big and exciting things happen. I'm excited about those 5 steps, and I trust that this evening, as I've shared them with you, you too are getting excited about what lies ahead. One thing that I've realized when engaging with young people is that every single one of them has imagination in bucket loads. I mean, they can dream so easily. They can dream things that are impossible, which is exactly what imagination is for. It's to see the unseen scene and to bring that scene on the scene so that other people can see the scene that you saw. That's what imagination plus action manifests. So what is your dream? What are you passionate about? Are you busy chasing after something else because you're trying to meet needs instead of doing what you're really passionate about? And when I talk about dreams, I'm not talking about a dream house, a dream car, a dream education, a dream holiday, and all those lucky packet wishes that people proclaim as dreams. I'm talking about what is the desire, the deep desire of your heart, the thing that keeps you awake at night because you see the need everywhere and it bothers you until the point you realize that, hang on, no one else is doing something. I need to do something. we look at these things called dreams, and we see every now and then someone's dream becomes a reality. It's not helped by the fact that there are lotteries and people win by chance a lot of money and we think their dream came true. No, no, no. I'm talking about people who had a clear vision and they began to step in faith in that direction, and you look and you see that it becomes a reality. Someone like Steve Jobs sitting with Wozniak in a garage dreaming about Apple. Nobody saw them sitting there working long hours. But today, many people are using an iProduct. When Elon Musk and his brother were sharing an apartment, not an apartment, an office, and using it as an apartment, and they were working day and night, doing what no other people were willing to do. Nobody saw them in that situation. Nobody saw the hardship, the commitment, the fact that they were all in. There was no going back. But today, people marvel at what they've achieved. They even become jealous of what they've achieved. Maybe the same thing lies ahead for you if you just begin to pursue your dream. You know what lies between the dream and its reality? Yes, there's action, there's hard work, there's all those things that you've heard before. But there is a fundamental thing, that piece of the puzzle, which I call the missing link. And that missing link is a written, documented plan. Can you say confidently when somebody asks you about your dream, your vision, can you say, it is written? Is it on a wall somewhere you can see it? When you speak to people, are you talking about all the problems, situations, issues, circumstances in your life? Is that all they hear? Or are they sick and tired of hearing about the vision that you speak? Because if they're sick and tired of hearing about your vision, then you are speaking it into existence. You know what's amazing is that the computer we're using this evening, the technology we're using this evening, has been programmed with a language. That language is called syntax. It has to be precise. There cannot be anything incorrect because the computer does exactly according to the language, the words that have been placed within it. Maybe there's a secret in that. Maybe our future lies in the words we speak. Maybe it is true that life and death is in the spoken word. Maybe our yes and our no is shaping our future. Maybe the choices that we make today or yesterday is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing today. If we want the future to change, all we need to begin to do is to change the choices we make in the present. So the missing link that lies between your dream and its reality is a clearly defined, written, documented plan, or MAP, Master Action Plan. It's that simple. Most people say that success is hard, reaching a dream is difficult. But there's another thing that we can say is perhaps it's not hard. You know, the first step is not hard. Maybe people just don't know what the first step is. And the first step is writing it down. You know, they say the weakest ink is stronger than the strongest memory. If you think it, ink it, put it on paper, turn your vaporware into hardware. This is an important first step. It's not difficult, it is easy. It's just because most people have not yet done it, it appears to be difficult. But they haven't been told. Now you know. Write it down, put it on paper. Map for Life exists today because I sat in Zimbabwe in December 1998 and wrote on a piece of paper that I'm going to write a book. 3 months later, I was able to start. Less than a year later, the book was on the bookshelves. Today we sit 25 years down the road where people in over 100 countries are using this tool to map their lives. And wow, we know that we need so many people to join us to map your country, your city, your continent. So if you want to be a coach or trainer, talk to us. We'd love you to come on board. We'll provide you with all the tools, presentations, everything that you need to be successful at empowering other people to pursue their passion and fulfill their purpose. Together, we can make life purposeful. And in closing this session, I would like to say this: don't let well done on your tombstone mean that you were cremated. I'm sure that as you take that in, that you too are going to be someone that doesn't wait for things to happen. You don't wonder what happened or watch things happen, but rather you are going to make things happen. Our message is simply that you are mandated, you're anointed, you're provisioned, and you're destined for such a time as this. And I trust that as you leave today's session, that you don't see this as the end, but rather the beginning, the start of an exciting adventure where your life matters, where the things that you do have an impact, because I know that you were born for such a time as this. It's been wonderful spending this evening sharing with you, and I trust that if you have any questions that you will gladly share them with us. I would also like to know, just very briefly, if there's anything that you would like to participate in with MAP4LIFE. We also have a pay it forward process, something where if you have benefited in some way from this evening session, that you can simply make a small contribution so that someone else can also benefit from MAP4LIFE. And I trust that each and every one of you will consider doing just that. It helps us to do what we are passionate about so that other people can do what they are purposed to do. And maybe, just maybe, you will become a beneficiary of someone else's pay it forward contribution. So thank you so much for joining me. May the rest of your new year, which we started just 45 minutes ago, that new year is going to be the best year that you've ever had, and that each year from now on will be more and more significant than the one before. Thank you so much. I trust that you're going to have a wonderful time. Please communicate with us, ask any questions that you would like. We'll be very happy to take those questions. And if you're watching the recording, please also engage with us. Our details are below. I'd encourage you to WhatsApp me on the telephone number that you see on the screen. If you have any questions, that's the easiest way to communicate with me directly. And I look forward to meeting you in person in your country as together we map the world. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Good night.